Yeah, you know, it took me more than 5 years to finish my logbooks.
So do you focus just the e-license, or you also go through valuation and
Oh,
management?
no. I went. I sat for the part one, part two. Then I became a probationary agent and got the e-license.
Ah, I see, I see.
So you know, part one, part two was all right. Okay. I managed to complete it within 3 years for part one, part two. And I thought, and we all thought then, you know, logbook was very easy because we are actively in the market. Am I right? So it's like a journal, but somehow it took longer than expected.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because they want your working experience as well. Are we on live already? Not
Yes,
yet.
we are live already.
Oh,
Oh, we
okay.
have it in Facebook.
Yeah, Facebook, and also I just opened the door already, and people are coming in. You can see the number just increasing. We're up
Okay.
to 60 plus already.
Oh, okay. All right.
All
Interesting.
right. So we shall just wait another 2 minutes.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. So there are so many online training these days over the last 20 over days.
Yeah, Zoom is just like suddenly a windfall for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So everyone is sharing, everyone is doing a lot of things. Yeah. But it's amazing. I mean, it's amazing, you know how things change very quickly. Yeah.
So you yourself still running this online training with your own companies
Oh
as
yeah,
well? Is that
yeah, we
correct?
do. In fact, I've been doing this for quite a while. I mean, trainings in terms of training coaching. Uh, Online, obviously, started when when the coronavirus hit everyone. So I think this
Okay.
is the way to go.
Okay.
We have another, I think, about 30
1 minute?
seconds to go.
Okay,
Yeah.
sure.
Yep.
All right.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Belinda, and I'm from MIEA Sabah branch. It is so nice to see you all today. MIEA has launched this self-help program since 18th of March, the beginning of Movement Control Order. And thanks to the team and all the speakers who make this happen. And we have learned so many informative lessons from the past few days. So this session, we're going to learn about how to sustain your income during challenging time. And it is our privilege to have Mr. Aldrin to share with us. So Mr. Aldrin, he is the founder and managing director of Esprit Estate Agents Senjan Berhad. He has been a practitioner since 1995. His passion and love for the industry has propelled him to lead and build a successful team of negotiators under his company, Esprit. And with his guidance and mentoring, he has helped many negotiators to billions ringgit of properties for themselves. His vast knowledge of the industry has also helped clients to build multi-million portfolio in real estate investment. So right now, without further ado, we would like to invite Mr. Aldrin to share to us about how to sustain your income during challenging times. Mr. Aldrin, please.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much, and thank you MIEA for inviting me to to participate in your MIEA whole program. And all right. And good afternoon, everyone. I hope everyone is staying safe and healthy over the last 20 over years. No, 20 over days. Why is 20 over days? It sounds like 20 over years. Am I right? So I know over the last 20 over days, a lot of session has been shared, a lot of thoughts has been given, a lot of ideas has also been shared. All right, this is what I would want to share today. All right, something that I think is close to everyone. Okay, and I was just having a discussion yesterday with a couple of my colleagues in the market. I think a lot of people, especially practitioners on the ground, REN as well. More often than not, everyone is searching for an answer. All right. So now during this challenging time, a lot of things are moving very fast. Moving forward, things are going to happen very fast. More often than not, everyone is searching for an answer. But to me, we have to work toward the answer that we want. So what I'm going to share today is a roadmap to overcome world crisis and sustain your income. What is very important, if you can look at the slide over here, if you look to your right, first thing first is before anything that will happen, okay, acknowledge the situation, which I'm going to share with you, further on every single point. And once we have actually acknowledged the situation, understand the situation and the market implication, which is very important, and then understand how the market actually reacts, all right, to the current situation that we are all facing, then only we are able to strategize our business model. Because you got to know what is happening, what are the implications before you can actually apply the solution. Am I right? So that is a part of strategize your business model. And I think the last one will be the extremely very important will be the execution part of it. All right. It is pointless for us to have a lot of plans. All right. It's pointless for us to know exactly what to do, and yet we are not doing it. Okay. So first thing first, let's look at number one, acknowledge situation. This is obviously a global disaster. All right. Over the last 20 over days, I've been talking to a lot of people. I believe everyone as well. We have been zooming all over the place, and it is very interesting. I like to observe. All right. I was in a Zoom session yesterday when someone was actually sharing with me that in his opinion, because of the stimulus package by the government, it's quite unlikely that the Malaysian economy will go into recession. Now, there is no right and wrong because these are all personal deduction, personal comment. All right. So what is important is this. All right. At this moment of time, we are looking at a pandemic that's actually affecting the whole world. All right. And if you look at it, IMF has already declared global recession in most of the country in the world. Oil prices has gone down to almost 30 ringgit and below. Malaysian ringgit has gone down as well. Now, it used to be from the economic sense, when the ringgit goes down, our export will go up because export will be a lot cheaper. But bear in mind, during this moment of time where the whole world is actually being affected, consumer spending, consumption by other countries will also go down as well. So the effect of ringgit that goes down, that will increase the GDP, as normally what we will see, may not be there this time because the rest of the world are also being affected as well. So if you look at it, another thing will be the global supply chain definitely will be highly disrupted, all right, because of a lot of lockdowns. And this is just going to affect every single country's GDP. Needless to say, stock market is badly affected as well. Interest rate is going down. Now, normally interest rate go down is because the government want liquidity in the market. So this time around, again, like how the Malaysian ringgit goes down and normally the GDP will goes up because the export goes up. Interest rate effect of lower interest rate, would it be something that would really move the market? Yes and no. Okay. And I think one of the greatest challenge that we will face is this uncertainty ahead. Now, we are all running our business. Either you are a rent, you are a PA, you are an estate agent, you are agency owner. We are running our own business, am I right? Now, I think the greatest challenge is when we do not know exactly how the whole world is going to react. Yes, there's so many thoughts, so many comments, there's so many analyses, but I think the main thing is this: when will this all end? All right, is it going to be 6 months down the road, 9 months down the road, 12 months down the road, 24 months down the road? So having said so, there's a lot of uncertainty, and uncertainty will make business planning very, very tough. Okay, I think that is one of the greatest challenge that we face. Now, let's look at the previous two notable crises that actually affects the Malaysian property market. Number one, as you all know, that is Asian financial crisis, where it started in Southeast Asia, all right, and that is because of the devaluation of currencies in Southeast Asia, and definitely it does affect the rest of the market subsequently. And the other one will be in 2008 subprime crisis. where because of the housing market collapse in US, it does also affect the rest of the world subsequently. Now, the interesting part is this. What I'm going to show to you is if you look at the bottom right of the slide, okay. What you can see is during this crisis, all right, how does it affect the volume of transaction in Malaysia? During the 1997 Asian financial crisis, the market tumbles down by 32%. Immediately, 32% of the volume of transaction was wiped out immediately. And I remember it clearly because I started being an agent or negotiator back then in 95. When it comes to October 97, and I remember so well, I had 6 SMP cases that has just been signed just 1 month before that, and it's during the transaction period of 3+1 month. Immediately, all 6 SMP was being aborted. Buyers were more than willing to let the vendor forfeit the 10% paid, and that was actually quite a dramatic situation. All right, and now if you look at the subprime crisis in 2008. Does it really affect the Malaysian property market? And if you see as in terms of the volume of the transaction, the answer is actually no. Okay, it only affects 0.6% down. Okay, and if you look at it in terms of those in the market, let's say over the last 10 years, you will notice that in 2013, the market actually shrank by 10.6%, basically because of the overhang supply and also the government cooling measures that were being implemented. So now, from what you see over here, it's actually very clear that Asian financial crisis affected Malaysia more as compared to subprime crisis, and so was the Malaysian cooling measures in 2013. And I think a simple deduction is this: whatever that happened right at our doorstep, it will definitely affect us the most. Am I right? So now, if you look at this map over here, and this is a map that I just downloaded from WHO. These are all the countries in the world that's already being affected by coronavirus. Okay, and if you look at the bottom left, bottom left, in the 5 world's biggest economy, United States, Japan, Germany, United Kingdom, they are also severely affected. In China, in US, you're talking about UK, you're talking about Germany, and you're talking about Japan now. I was just reading the news just now. The Prime Minister of Japan has actually declared emergency in Japan. So can you imagine? This is a global recession. This is unlike in 97. Yes, it hit us very badly because it happened right at our doorstep. And if you compare to subprime in 2008, it hit the rest of the world very badly, but it doesn't really affect Malaysia. So can you imagine the magnitude that is going to affect the Malaysian property market, where it's affecting Malaysia, it's affecting the rest of the world, all at the same time? Okay, so acknowledgement of what is happening is very important. So now, number 2. So what is the market implication of all that I've just shared with you? First thing first is this: the pie will be getting smaller. All right. Definitely the volume of transaction will go down. That is needless to say. So I think this is the part where everyone is very worried. Okay, how is the market going to be? While the market size is just going to get smaller. Simple as that. All right. Now, let's look at the trend of what happened over the last 20 years, all right, when actually the market slowed down in terms of the economy. So if you can see over here, the top graph over here is actually the, what do you call the trend of the GDP growth between 1980 and all the way to recently 1999. And at the bottom is actually the annual change. Now, this is what you can see. Now, back in 1985, the GDP actually went down. It was a recession, mainly because of the commodity export actually slumped by 30%. All right, so, and if you look at in 1997, again, because of the Asian financial crisis, the GDP actually went down. And if you look at 2003 as well, during SARS, the Malaysian economy was also affected as well. And if you look at subprime crisis, our GDP, the annual change also actually is actually registered a negative growth. And the big question would be, how would this COVID pandemic actually affect the GDP in Malaysia? Definitely it's not going to be something positive. Like I say, IMF is already declaring world recession. So we will expect our GDP to go down as well. Okay, so now if you look at the unemployment rate between 1999 to 2019, again in 1999, it has spiked. In 2003 during SARS as well, it spiked. If you look at 2009 as well, it spiked at 3.69%. And as recent as 2016, when the Malaysian economy GDP wasn't doing that well in 2016, unemployment rate actually went up. So again, the big question would be, what is the aftermath of all this, whatever that we are facing? How is it going to affect unemployment rate? Now, if you ask me, in my opinion, unemployment rate will go up. I think not only in Malaysia, in a lot of countries as well. And unemployment rate goes up, income goes down, people's livelihood is out of the picture, demand for housing will go down, all right? So definitely this is something of a very great concern. So now, if you look at it, the next slide I'm going to show to you will be the market trend of the volume of transaction over the last 20 over years. So, so if you look at it from 1990 up to 1999, so how does it really affect the Malaysian market in terms of volume of transaction? In Asian financial crisis, the volume actually went down by 32%. Dot-com fallouts didn't really affect the Malaysian market. In fact, it only affect by about minus 4.6%. Decline in growth or SARS during 2003, 2004. Again, the Malaysian economy wasn't really, the volume of transaction wasn't really affected as well. So it's subprime. Okay. Now, if you look at about 2013, when the government started the cooling measure, and also there's actually a lot of developers are overbuilding. So during that year, the market actually softened by about minus 10.9% in terms of the volume of transaction. So if you look at it over the last 6-7 years, I would say the market has been sliding down in terms of the volume, with the exception of 2018. And again, what will happen? All right, how would this pandemic going to affect the volume of transaction? GDP is going to go down, unemployment rate is going to go up. Malaysian ringgit, which is already devalued, is not really going to help the GDP. Oil price has gone down to less than 30 ringgit. Again, the Malaysian GDP is going to be affected. So definitely with all these circumstances, in my opinion, volume of transaction, I'm not surprised, in my personal opinion, where the volume will actually go down by 30 to 40%, even maybe up to 40 to 50%. Now, I'm not a doomsayer here, all right? But if you look at the past record, all right, it's what you've seen on your screen. If you look at it, what hits Malaysia right our doorstep really did affect the Malaysian volume of transaction in terms of the property. And if you look at the rest of all this happened out of Malaysia, of course, with the exception of SARS. And bear in mind, SARS wasn't really a pandemic. All right, it affected quite a lot of countries, but it's not as severe as Corona. So, so can you imagine what kind of volume of transaction deep it will be this time around? So it's something for everyone to ponder about. All right. So now, so I talk about acknowledgement. You talk about the market implication. Then how did the market really react? Now, this is a graph that shows the Malaysia house price index year-on-year change between 1997 and 2009. Now, if you have been practicing over the last many years, and then you have been struggling, just like the rest of every one of us, all right? We have been struggling over the last 4 to 5 years, okay? It's tough to close deal. There's so many challenges. Number one, when there's a property overhang, the price start coming down, all right? I'm going to explain shortly. Then we have challenges of bank loan, we have so many challenges. One of the things that you can see from this graph, and it's going to be very clear why we are facing what we have been facing over the last 4 or 5 years, is for one very simple reason. Now, if you look at this, all right, whatever that you see from the left of your screen all the way to the right, anything that is blue means there's actually an increment of pricing, the rate of increment of house price. All right, so that is a house price index year on year. So if you notice in 1997, which it registered a negative growth, meaning to say the price in a simple form tumbles down. Am I right? And with the exception of 97, 98 crisis, if you look at year 2000 all the way to up to even before the lockdown, just a couple of weeks ago, if you look at it, prices has been on the upward trend. It's a matter of whether year on year, how much did the price increase? So obviously over the last 5-6 years, all right, or 4 to 5 years, the rate of increment actually goes down, but it did not go down all the way to negative as what you see on the left in 1997, 98. So in another words, in my opinion, all right, over the last 4 or 5 years, while yes, there's so many negative news about the property market, there's overhang stock, 30 over billion, all right. What else? Market is also not performing so well. The economy. Then we have the political situation as well in Malaysia. Consumer sentiment index was actually went down as well, with the exception of in 2018. Now, everyone is expecting the price to be better. Am I right? For a buyer, but you really look at it, price did not really go down. So the whole challenge that we are facing is this. On one hand, while the buyer wants to buy, on the other hand, by far and large, a lot of sellers are still holding on to their price. Yes, there's always an exception of a good buy in the property, all right, at any time of the day, and it also over the last 4 to 5 years. But what I'm trying to say is by far and large, the economy is still doing quite pretty okay. Overhang stock is overhang stock where developers are facing a lot of challenges. A lot of private owners are still able to sail through. The demand of property is still there, even though it has been affected. The rate of transaction in terms of rental is still quite pretty all right, quite pretty healthy. In other words, people are able to hold on to their property by far and large. Okay, now what will happen when the market really tumbles down? And this is what will happen, and you will see back is very similar to back in 1997 as well. Okay, so now this is what will happen. Going forward, it's going to be a real buyer's market. Now, if you have been talking to a lot of owners over the last 1-2 years, and if you have been advising them, hey, look, market is not so good, there's an overhang stock, political situation is not so good, we can go on and on and on and on. More often than not, a lot of owners who are able to hold on to your property, they may acknowledge what you say, but they may not be entirely agree to what you say. Then will they really decrease the price or reduce the price slightly so that the buyers, it can match up to the buyer's offer? Chances is the answer is no. Now, again, if you talk to all these sellers today, all right, you will not be surprised that they may change your mind, all right? While they acknowledge it, they do understand, look, this is not just something that is overhang stock in Malaysia, where this is not something about the Malaysian property market is getting out of reach for a lot of Malaysians. This is actually a world situation. World economy is going down. There's a lot of implication. So think about what goes behind a seller's mind, all right? And definitely, if the volume of transaction is going down, we will know that this is going to be a buyer's market. So in short, this is the time where when I say it's a real buyer's market, is when the sellers start to realize, look, if I were to need to sell the properties to liquidate it for my business, for my saving, for whatever it is, now this is a time where I would seriously be very motivated to sell, all right, before the market goes down further. Okay, for those who have not really experienced 1997 crisis, it is extremely dramatic. The market can just go down within 1 quarter. Okay, so now let's move on to the next slide. So what is the characteristic of the buyer's market? Very simple, less transaction in the market. So that's where all the agents I'm going to get worried. Okay, so there's going to be a less transaction. Am I right? So I was saying the volume of transaction, the pie is going to get smaller naturally. Stock take longer to dispose of unless sellers are very motivated. There'll be increase in number of motivated sellers because this is about the time now, and going very near in the future, a lot of sellers will really realize that, look, all right, this is the time where if they need to sell, means they got to sell it fast. Price will continue to slide down. So all this doesn't really look like it's very, very interesting. You know, it can be very scary to some of you out there. Okay, but this is what I always tell a lot of agents. Okay, what is actually our role here? Okay, think about it. What is actually our role as a negotiator? Now, you know, there could be quite a few answers to that. But think about it in terms of your income, okay? Whether the market is good, whether the market is not so good, whether the volume of transaction is here, the volume of transaction is down here. The big question is, how many deals are you capturing in the market? Okay, so that's why there's always a reason why, you know, when the market goes down, you have one group of agents will always say, hey, the market is bad, I'm not closing deal. And you have the same another group that is in the same time that is closing a lot of deals. So the big question is whether market is challenging, whether market is good, how many deals are you capturing? Think about what I say. All right. So now, so this is a problem that we are all facing. All right, during negotiation. Sellers and buyers are chasing for future price. Okay, when the market is good, the seller will want to sell even higher. Am I right? And then the buyers will have to chase for the price. When it's a buyer's market, it's actually the other way around. Just showing you a very simple graph, all right, for a very simple understanding. For example, this is in the seller's market. Now, so seller will always want to sell at a higher price at P2, all right, at the current moment. Why? Because everything is positive. Or seller will come and tell you, look, I'm selling at this price. Why? Because once a buyer buy and the buyer hold on for another 2-3 years, you know, the buyer is going to make a lot of money because the property is going to appreciate. Okay, sounds very familiar. And this is also in the seller's market when the buyers constantly have to chase for a future higher price. Buyers have to match up to the seller's future price, and it is for us to convince a buyer to match up higher future price. Okay, so so this is during a seller's market. Now, if you look in the buyer's market, the other, you know, the effect will be the other way around. Okay, buyer wants future price, which is going to be lower today. So whatever that you're going to sell, all right, you're going to propose to your client, which is the buyer, you know, between now and in the next 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, or even up to 18 months, likelihood is buyer is just going to push your price down. Why? Because this is a characteristic of a buyer's market, and buyers constantly chase for future lower price. Sellers have to match up. If they want to sell today, means the seller will have to reduce the price. Like it or not, that is what it is. Okay, it's just as simple as that. And then it is for us to convince the seller to match a lower future price. So think about what I just shared with you. This is a real buyer's market. Over the last 4-5 years, it wasn't really a real buyer's market. While a lot of buyers will think that the price will tumble down, am I right? Now, ask yourself, how often do you get this question from your prospective buyers? Has the market reached the bottom? You were being asked last year, you're being asked the year before, and you're being asked the year before last year, am I right? So did the market really goes all the way down in terms of the pricing? Not really. If you remember, I showed you the year-on-year change of the pricing. The market, the pricing did not really go down. All right. So this pandemic is going to change the perception, the effect on how the prices is going to be. Okay. And so how does the market react? So I just shared with you about how the seller and buyer will react. How about we, as a practitioners, if you are in the market as a rent that has been closing deal? And again, this is what I see over the last many years with a lot of agents, and I think a lot of you out there will also concur with me. Now, by far and large, majority of the agents or the negotiator in the market will cover a few sectors, all right? Some of them will be doing a bit of housing, a bit of condo, landed, even a bit of a commercial. So now, I'm just going to give you an example on, let's say if you are a drinker here, all right, okay, and there are 5 glasses of water, and these 5 glasses of water denotes 5 different types of segment. It could be industrial, commercial, residential, it could be landed, it could be also by areas as well. So if you are one of those, all right, that has been practicing over the last few years and still able to make some money and survive by handling a few sections where your closing rate is only about 10% in every single section. So imagine when the market is still performing very well, meaning to say the glass is almost filled, you will be drinking all the 5 glasses at the 10% of the drinking rate, and you'll be drinking at 40 ml. Am I right? So now what the point I'm trying to say is this: your strategy of touch and go in many segments of the market during good times, yes, definitely will bring you result, definitely will bring you income, all right, but it's actually done in a very inefficient way. All right. Now, bear in mind, when the market is still performing very well, so as an agent, you can afford to go on the broader picture, on the broader strategy, and each single segment, when you close less deal in terms of percentage of closing, you are still okay. All right. Now, if you are going into tough time, okay, and it's not just you, it's everyone, inefficiency is actually not very forgiving during bad time. Okay, so let me just give you an example again. So if your closing rate for every single segment is 10%, and now the glass is actually only half filled because the volume of transaction is going to go down. So can you imagine how much revenue you're going to lose if you still continue to drink or to go into the 5 segments as in these 5 glasses? Your rate of closing is just going to go down to what? Rate of drinking of 20 ml. So another way is your income is going to drop by 50%. Now, this is what you need to do, okay? And this is what I have done during the 97 financial crisis. When I first started in 95, yeah, I was doing a few areas. I was doing rental of office space in Golden Triangle. At the same time, I was selling some houses, and at the same time, I was doing a bit of industrial. Okay, so when it comes to 97 market, definitely office space demand in Golden Triangle slumped. It went down dramatically. All right. Houses, well, I wasn't really focusing in houses, but I did close a few back then in 95, 96. But in 97, what I did was I chose to focus in industrial sector. Now that really works out very well for me, and the point I'm trying to make is this: during challenging time, you need to be more focused, all right? For those who have been farming, has been really doing a real farming, okay, over the last few years, continue to build your farm, because this farm that you have built is going to make you to be able to survive for the next 12 to 24 months, okay? And for those who have not been actually doing farming, or has not been really focusing in certain segment, think about what I just said, okay? Nothing is too late unless you fail to adapt and take certain action. So you will be better off focusing on the last segment, increase your efficiency. And like I said, you times like that, you got to go niche. You cannot be a jack of all trades and a master of none. Okay. Now, the next slide, how does the market react? Naturally, there's going to be a lag time. All right. So this graph actually will show you that what will happen. Okay, let's say after the lockdown, activity is going to come back. Okay. You see, one of the question that I've been asked continuously over the last 20 over days will be this: hey, I can't really do viewing. What's the point of advertising? Okay. So when the market really is back, so to speak, in terms of activities, when the lockdown is over, definitely we are able to go out to work. Yes, with your number of viewing goes up, the answer is yes. Am I right? So it will give you a bit of confidence. Am I right? Now, you may want to be very careful. While activities, in my opinion, can really go up, okay, because we have been locked down for 20 over days. The big question is this, all right? There will be activities, there will be viewing, offer will come in. Can the seller match up to the buyer's offer? Okay, if the seller reacts fast enough, yes, you may just be able to close the deal. If by far and large, if the seller doesn't match up to what the buyers want, bearing in mind this is going to be a tough time, it's going to be a buyer's market, there will be lack of a time where we will find that closing the deal is very difficult. Now, what is it that we really want? Okay, we want to have a lot of activities that during good time will lead to more sales, or during bad time, a lot of activities doesn't mean your sales will go up. All right. This is all about closing. All right, this is all about closing the gap between seller and buyer. So if you are one of those agents who is able to understand very clearly what is happening to the market, if you are able to actually empathize your seller, and if you are able to actually advise your seller, look, all right, depending on what your seller wants, if your seller really need the money and need to sell within 3 months, what do you need to advise the owner? If your seller come and tell you, I don't really need the money, I can sell within 6 months, again, what do you advise the owner? Am I right? So whatever that you're going to share with your owner, okay, is going to dictate whether do you close the deal or not, okay? Activity is just going to be there. So if you were to ask me, be very careful in the next 6 to 9 months. We have not seen the real effect of pandemic. There's so many things that we talk about. To me, the real show is not here yet, all right? And it's coming very, very soon, okay? So, oops, why am I back to, okay, sorry. So let me, so the fourth will be strategize your business model, all right? So just take a look at this video for a little while. So it looks like it's going to be very, very tough, am I right? So it's going to be a survival of the fittest. Things are going to get very challenging, am I right? So that's what we will all think. But think about it. If you think it's tough, let me tell you, it's easier to close deals during crisis era. And this is what I have experienced during crisis. This is what a lot of agents out there have experienced during crisis. Now, this is what I call the hourglass effects, all right? Now, think about it. So this is an hourglass, all right? So now, what are you facing, or what we have been facing over the last 4-5 months? The last 4-5 years. Buyers want a lower price, sellers tend not to give in to the buyer. Am I right? So I was saying sellers by far and large are still holding on to the price. Buyers is hearing a lot of bad news, overhang stock, change of government, could be many, many things. So everyone's buyer sentiment is much lower than seller sentiment. Am I right? So now, then how do we motivate the buyer then? Now, to me, it's very simple. It's as simple as this. If you look at it, and we know that it's going to be a buyer's market, am I right? Price is just going to slide down. Naturally, all right? Whether you like it or not, this is going to happen, okay? Now, if you look at it, so how will the sliding down of price going to affect the motivation of your buyer? To me, it's very simple, all right? The lower the price is, the more motivated the buyer will buy. Simple, okay? So that's the reason why it is easier to close deal during crisis. But I am not really finished my sentence yet. All right. This whole sentence should be, if you think it's tough, let me tell you, it's easier to close deal during crisis if you have the buyers in hand. All right. So another word here is, the challenge now is to get the buyers. All right. To get buyers during this moment of time, during a buyer's market and during a market downturn, is the most challenging thing. Dealing with the sellers will be a lot easier. And that's what happened in 1997 as well. I remember in 1997 or beginning of 98, I remember very well, in the space of 2 months, I closed about 7 shop lots in Kota Kemuning. Those days we call it the town center one next to the McDonald's. That obviously McDonald's wasn't there at all back in 97. And I closed the 7 of 8 cases within the space of 2 months with 2 buyers. All right. So, so was I lucky? A yes and a no. Okay. But my point is this: if you have a buyer that has money, that is waiting for a buyer's market, trust me, you will be able to close the deal faster. So think about what I say. All right. Now, so what should we need to do? All right. So now, to me, in closing a deal, I always have a simple equation. Okay. If you want to have sales, you must have stock. Okay, and you must be able to reach out to generate the leads. Okay, and whatever leads that you have actually received, you must be able to handle the leads in basically selling lah. Am I right? So it's your skill set. Then only you are able to close the deal. So another word is this: if you have stock and you do not have the rest of this, things will not happen. Am I right? So for you to be a top performer or for you to stay in this game, you must have stock and you must be able to reach out and you must have a salesmanship so that these three things has to happen at the same time before you can close sales. Okay, so now during this challenging time, what should we do now? So I'm going to go into something that is more specific. So in relation to the stock, what are the immediate steps that you need to take? All right. So we are talking about acknowledging the crisis. We talk about how it's going to affect the market, or rather the market implication, and how does the market react. Okay, so now we talk about how do we strategize. Okay, now first thing first is this: stock. Stock is the most important thing. Okay, what I'm going to show with you is not something going to be out of the box. Okay, because I think a lot of people has been sharing this over the last many days. Okay, but there's one thing that I'm trying to drive towards. Okay, towards the end of this. So now, when it comes to the stock, follow up with all owners that listed with you. How are they doing? Have they changed their mind? You should be advising them. You should empathize their situation. Okay, rather than going out there immediately try to get more stock, call up your owners that has been listing their properties with you. Check with them, see how the situation is. Now, number two is you got to segmentize your vendors. All right, managing your portfolio of stock is very important. Okay, for example, if you are a trading company, you want to segmentize your stock or manage your stock in terms of, are they fast moving goods, are they slower moving goods, are they fast moving goods but the value and the volume are much lesser or much higher. So all this you got to look into the picture. All right, okay, you got to take that into consideration. But I'm just giving you a very simple thing, as you need to prioritize those highly motivated vendors. Okay, less motivated vendors, you have more time for you to actually talk to them before the price come down. Because when during a bad time, when the competition is still out there, the pool of buyers get lesser, means things have to happen very fast. Okay, you do not have the liberty of time of continuing to negotiate for another 3 months, 5 months, 6 months. All right, because if you are still doing as what you have been doing over the last 4 or 5 years, let me just tell you, while you can continue to talk to the owner, the buyers will be buying from someone else. All right, just think about it. Okay, the next will be classify your listing by types and areas and find your niche segment. So remember, I just sharing with you, the 5 glasses example. So during bad time, you may not want to go into that many segments. You should stay more focused. You should start even farming now. There's no such thing as too late. For those who has been farming very good, you should continue to build your farm, even though it's going to be very challenging, but at least you know that your market is there. All right. So now the next will be, it is a buyer's market. So be a buyer's agent now. And by doing so, you will be helping vendors. Okay. So you say, I do a lot of coaching. And one of the things, whenever people come to me, every single session, there's this word called the fear. All right. I fear that if I get the buyer to buy, the buyer may not make money. I fear that if I talk to the owner to reduce the price, the owner will taro me. All right. I fear. There's a lot of fear. Okay. Now, that is a reason why, because of all this, we all get fearful. Am I right? So you look at the whole situation. Buyer's market, be a buyer's agent. Talk to the seller. It's very simple. If the seller can hold on to the property, they don't need the money, they can take their own sweet time to sell. But what if sellers who really need the money and need a buyer within the next 2-3 months or need it within 30 days? Are you able to deliver? Am I right? So again, think about this point. The next will be go on exclusive appointment with motivated sellers. Now, times like that, okay, you want to go on exclusive listing as many as possible, provided they are very motivated seller. I think one of the things with exclusive listing is this, with a lot of agents is this, it's also a fear where a lot of agents will tend not to get in a lot of exclusive listing because they are worried that they cannot deliver in time. Now, that is a valid reason, all right? So when you have an exclusive listing, and chances is when you do not deliver means your exclusive listing will be given to someone else. Am I right? So constantly we need to manage how many exclusive listings that we can have, that we can deliver. So remember, the moment you do not deliver to your owner in an exclusive listing, your chances of your chances of closing is going to go down. But times like this, when you have a very motivated seller, in my opinion and in my strategy, I will immediately sign up so exclusive. All right. So be very selective. Be very selective. Next will be bump up your rental listing. It's going to be your bread and butter deals. It's going to cover your expenses. I was just with one of my branch owner yesterday, and definitely he's very concerned with the market situation. So I was just telling him, okay, important thing now is survival for his team. Am I right? Everyone needs to survive. Okay, and to me in 97, how I managed to pull through 97 crisis was entirely on rental basis. All right, I was closing a 7 to 10 deals consistently per month during 98. Now, if I can do it, so can everyone. Okay, this is a moment where you, for those who has not been doing rental cases, think about what I say, because like it or not, people are going to go out of job. Okay, unemployment will go up, income will go down. Okay, affordability of housing was already an issue, and even when the price come down, unemployment rates goes up, people will still need housing. Chances is they will have to rent. Okay, so you got to bump up your rental listing, otherwise your cash flow is just going to be out. Okay, next will be don't lose sight on your listing for sale. All right, meaning to say, don't wait for future lower price. It is your responsibility to renegotiate with the vendor to bring the future lower price today, so that you are able to close the deal fast enough. Okay, so whether the owners agree with you or not, of course, will depends on the owner, will depends on economic situation that the owner is facing, and depends on many, many things. So you got to be selective. All right, that's why I was saying that you got to be selective in terms of what kind of listing that you want to focus on. The next will be play an advisory role with vendors and buyer. Advise them on the best course of commercial decision. Okay. Now, many a times to a lot of agents is, I call it the messenger. All right, seller want to sell this price, buyer offer this, then they will convey the message to the seller. Hey, my buyer wants this price. Okay. Now, how often do we give a justification as to why the seller needs to reduce the price or the buyer needs to increase the price? Think about it. So you see, for us to be relevant, there's all this prop tech coming in. Am I right? Whether are we still able to be relevant in this industry? A yes and a no. If we can put much better value on the table for our client, then we will still be relevant. And this is where during bad time, we will be able to differentiate ourselves between the rest of the agents if we are able to advise the owner accordingly, right? So brush up your skill in negotiating with vendors, develop script dialogues that works for you, okay? Think about it. So I'm not going to go into that detail, okay? So organize your listing. Be prepared to send all links of your listing. Now, I find a lot of agents, when it comes to your listing, they don't really organize it. So if you are one of it that has been organizing your listing, thumbs up for you. If you have not, think about that, all right? Talk to your leaders. How are you able to organize? Talk to your mentor, all right? Listen to webinars, go for training. These are very important, okay? So now the next thing will be reaching out. So remember, my simple theory is you need to have the stock, you need to reach out so that you can generate leads. With the leads come in with your salesmanship, then only you are able to close, then you have sales. Now, so this is a thing. I think by now, probably there'll be less question on this lah. But I remember, probably about 15 to 18 days ago, a lot of people is saying, why advertise when we can't do viewing? Am I right? Why advertise we can't do viewing? Now, to me, is this: sales come before marketing, and marketing doesn't stop. Okay. So what you have viewing, your viewing doesn't mean that you are closing deals. Am I right? unless you can turn your viewing into an offer and you can close the gap, and then only you get a deal. Okay, but yes, it's important to have viewing. All right, don't get me wrong. Am I right? So it's just that this is momentarily during the lockdown where things get affected. Okay, but that doesn't mean our marketing stop. All right, because when our marketing stop, our sales will stop forever until you resume your marketing. So think about what I say. All right. So now, most of the time when we advertise, okay, this is a thing that most of the agents would always say, yeah, the advertisement is not good enough. This portal is not generating good leads enough. The buyer's quality is not good enough. And you know why? Because everyone wants to get a hot leads. Everyone, okay, it's very natural, okay, nothing wrong with that. It's very natural when you advertise and within the space of a few calls, maybe 10 calls, you expect a buyer to go for viewing and after that make you an offer and close the deal. Because this is our perimeter of gauging whether is it a good leads or not. Am I right? But think about this. This is all timing. In real estate, in property, it's all timing. Either you're investors, whether you're an agent, whether you're developers, even whether you're a banker, even whether you are a lawyer doing, conveyancing, when it comes to real estate, is timing. Am I right? Timing is very important. Now, before anything get hot, you have to start from cold leads. Am I right? At one moment or point, no one is just going to say, yeah, immediately next day, oh, I'm all ready to commit. So there's a due process from cold leads turning into hot leads. Okay. So what are the things? Okay, cold leads turning into hot leads is when you continue to advertise. Things may not be very exciting. Buyer will come and tell you, hey, look, market is going to slump. Okay, I don't mind waiting for another 9 oh my God, for another 9 months, then only I can close the deal. Now, all cold leads. Cold leads were hot leads when you continue to do your marketing. When there are calls coming in, I'm just giving you a very simple example. People will inquire, people will build trust. You got to be able to advertise. There'll be a right match. Then people are ready to go for viewing, and after several viewing, then maybe there will be an offer that comes in, and you close the gap and you close the deal. Am I right? In short, from cold leads to hot leads, there's always a time frame. Okay, so it's either you are the one that continuously, I call it order taking, meaning to say you need the timing to be extremely perfect. You advertise, you just go for roadshow, you do a Facebook marketing, and you expect all the leads come in, majority is going to be good, and you start closing deal. If that happens to you, good, I would say very good. Okay, nothing wrong with that. But think about what is going to happen from now on for another 12 months to 18 months. Market is going to change. Behavior, your consumer behavior is going to change. Buyers, consumer is going to change. Sellers, consumer is going to change. Am I right? People reacting to your advertisement is going to change. So always this timeline over here. So my advice will be continuously to advertise. So when the market activities actually which is do you need, ask me times like that, it's mandatory. You're going to property guru, the Star Muda, FB, whatever that you can get home, but not, of course, you got to screen through. Am I right? But you see, there are a few major ones like what I just shown to you, on the slide. These are the ones that you should no longer ask yourself, which is the best, okay? Which is the one that can generate the good leads? Because one of the things is this, whether either one of it is going to be the best will also depends on the quality of your listing, will depends on many things. Am I right? Also depends on the kind of segments that you're penetrating. But in times like that, you cannot afford to just go on one platform and hope that that will be the best platform. What if you fail? What if the platform fails you? Am I right? So you got to really go on the broader scale. Okay. Now, social media, needless to say, okay, I'm not going to talk much on that. Okay, revisit your generated leads. Remember the hourglass theory that I just shared. Whatever leads also leads to a hot lead, and with the hourglass theory, when the price comes down, buyers will be more motivated. Now ask yourself, have you been keeping track of the leads that you have been working on over the last 1 year, over the last 2 years, over the last 3 months? What have you been doing to all these leads? Did you touch base with them? If you have, will be very good. Continue to do that. If you have not, then you got to start doing it. Okay, don't forget offline banners still works in certain segments. Yes, don't underestimate banners as well. Like I say, times like
Thank you, Mr. Aldrin. Have you finished
hello.
hello? Have you finished your? Thank you, Mr. Aldrin. Have you presented?
Oh, wait, wait, you get cut off, is it?
Yeah, I get cut off. Yes, have you finished your presentation?
Another 5 minutes.
Yes. Okay.
So
Sure.
I
You should go
so
back
is
to the share
everyone
screen.
online? Okay, this is the one. All right. So can you all hear me? Belinda, you can hear?
Yes, I can hear. You can continue your
You can
presentation.
hear.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So what I'm gonna okay, where was I? Okay, so increase your marketing budget, very important. The next will be whatever that you are doing in terms of reaching out. All right. In terms of reaching out, it must be a campaign. All right. A campaign meaning to say it's a series of activities. When it comes to reaching out, you cannot go on touch and go. So if you were to advertise a property today, okay, and if it doesn't really get that kind of response, think about what you need to do, and you should continue to do that. The second last will be leverage on your clients, work out referral fees. Times like that is very important. You get buyers to bring you buyers. Referral fees will always work very well. And if you are doing road shows, you're doing project other than your Facebook online, whenever there's a roadshow, gallery duty, or whatever private events, go on it consistently. I think the point here is actually consistency. All right. So now the third part will be the salesmanship. So I talk about the stock, I talk about reaching out, salesmanship. What do we need to do? All right. Now, number one, upgrade yourself. This is the best time to learn. Okay, because we have been doing a lot of trainings. One of the usual thing, I think a lot of people out there will also agree with me, when we do trainings, a lot of people will give a lot of excuses why they couldn't come for training. I need to go for viewing, I'm collecting a check, I'm busy, I'm this, I'm that, I'm everything. Am I right? So now, while everyone is locked down, so we have a lot of time to learn. So you got to upgrade yourself. Okay. The next will be learning new skills. Video conferencing, such as Zoom, video making, drone videos. All right, I will not repeat myself. This is already been shared many times. Be knowledgeable on the basic news of economy and how does it affect the market. This is very important. If you are able to advise your client, okay, sometimes you don't have to advise, sometimes you don't have to be the experts. You need to share, you just need to share whatever that you have read. You actually share with your client. Your client will be able to do their own deduction at times. All right. Okay. Apply what you learn by sharing with your clients. That's what I mentioned. Stay competitive. How do you do that? To me, knowledge is power. Skill is an advantage. But execution is the key. All right. It's pointless for you to learn when you don't execute. All right. It's pointless that you have a good skill that you don't put it to good use. Right. So to me, execution is the key over here. More so when bad time is coming. Okay. So I'm coming to the almost the end of the session. The last part is execution. All right. So remember, I was talking about acknowledging the situation. What is the market implication? How does the market react? How do we need to change our business strategy? The last part is to make sure that if you continue to sustain your income, execution is the key. All right. I think this has been shared many, 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 many times. I think you all have heard it until this is like a broken record. Am I right? And every time people will talk about it, and yet why this seems to be the challenge, I do not know. All right, I really do not know. But there's a few things that I overcome the challenges of execution. All right, I think number one is stop explaining, justifying, and defending. All right, this is so human being. Including myself as well. I'm speaking for myself. There are times that certain things that I do not like to do, so I won't be doing it. So if I'm being cornered as to why I have not done it, then if I have to start explaining myself, I have to start justifying, I have to start defending. Am I right? So so now for me, this is what it is. All right. So for many years, and to be honest, I think for my whole life, I do not make resolution. Okay, I never once. Okay, but what I did was instead I create habits. Okay, so I'll come every 31st of December or come every 1st of January, you know, when people ask me what is a resolution, I actually never understand what resolution is all about. Because to me is what is important thing is, yes, we must set goals. All right, we have to work towards our goal. Don't get me wrong. When I say don't make resolution, doesn't mean that you don't set goals. All right. For me, I do not make resolution. I set a lot of goals and I create habits so that I can achieve those goals. A lot of personal sales. I this thing called the 5 taps. All right. 5 taps meaning to say every day I want to call 5 people, and every day I want to put a new ads in the property portal and one new post in the social media. So I'm just giving you one example. All right. So I have a lot of all these like 5 taps in calling 5 people, one advertisement, and also one social media post. I have the 3C, CCC, not your CCC of handing over, convince, confidence, and closing. So I create a lot of all these acronyms so that I can remind myself, and these are the habits. Okay, so my tips or my own method of creating habits is creating acronyms. Okay, so now this is the part where over the last 20 over days and in the future and for many years to come, or you have already experienced it, there will be a lot of people sharing with you. You will learn a lot of things. Am I right? You will learn many things along the way. Now, it is imperative to execute. If you do not execute, it's pointless. Yeah, it's really pointless. So, so what I'm going to end with this session is this is something that I remember this very well back in March 1997, before the Asian financial crisis actually hit Malaysia. Now, I have a client back then, in 95, in 97, when I was about 20 over years, he was about 50 over years, and today he's already about 80. Still a good friend of mine, and he was actually advising me, young man, when tough time come, keep walking on the same route, and you will create your own path. So my point is this: if you have been doing quite pretty all right, okay, and bad times is coming, okay, and if you want to be able to sail through, the likelihood is this: hang in there. All right, hang in there, do whatever it takes, execute it. What is important thing is execution. Execution plays a more important role than having the knowledge. All right, remember I was saying knowledge is powerful, skill set is an advantage, execution is the key. All right, so so this is the end of my sharing. Thank you for listening, and I hope you take something back from this session. Now, for those who want a copy of my slide, I do share slide. You can add me in my Facebook page, and then you PM me, and then I will be able to share the slide with everyone. Okay, so I hope everyone have a wonderful session. Able to take something back. And if you have any question, now is Q&A session.
Thank you, Mr. Adrian. Because of the limited time.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, am I too long-winded? Oh my God.
Yeah, it's all right, but we enjoy the presentation. So there's this question from Suraya Anwar. I'm just gonna filter the question and do a simple one. Okay, so if let's say, for practically speaking, they have the potential buyer and want to view during MCO, how do you tackle the buyer when they prefer to view the properties personally?
Okay. Wow, this is $1 million question. Number one. So number one. Okay. So someone called, I want to view, and during MCO, what will happen? Okay, either you can make yourself invisible, so are your client, then go for viewing. Other than that, what is the whole purpose of MCO? That we are not allowed to get out of the house, am I right? So now, how I think the question is, how do we address a client like that who wants to do viewing and yet we can't go out? I think number one is this: share with them. All right, if you have already done a 3D tour link even for your or sub sale properties, am I right? And if you have done a lot of pictures, or if your company that you work with have a multi-listing system, send them pictures, send them link. Okay, that is very important. Now, now think about what the buyers will go through, viewers will go through, or people will go for viewing. Number one, they want to see the picture, they want to get a feel of it. Am I right? Okay, so one of the things is during this time is send them a lot of pictures, send them links, send them video that you have done. So my point is this: while we all been shouting about doing all this over the last 3-4 years, and a lot of people honestly do not really even bother to do it. Now this is a time that will make a difference. So so this is how you address it, lah. All right, okay.
Okay, that's very helpful, and it actually just give an insight on how to give the client a very good feedback despite the MCO restriction. So,
Yeah.
okay, next question. This is from KM Log. This
Okay.
is the interim period. Like for example, do you suggest like for example provide advance money to allow rents to survive and remain in the business?
I lost you slightly earlier, but if I get it right, during this interim period, is it advisable to give advance, or rather what to give
Yeah.
advance to rent? Am I right?
Yes, to help the rents to sustain in the business. How to help and lead the
Okay.
rents to overcome.
Well, I think this is will depends on the platform you're in. It depends on individual. Am I right? Now, times like that, everyone is facing challenges. Okay. Um, Even the human race is being challenged. Our survival, am I right? We're talking about pandemic here. A lot of people is going to get out of job. So to answer that question is a yes and no. I think for those who are able to help, why not? Am I right? But I always feel that if you help, you also got to be selective as well. All right. People will have to earn it. I mean, in my perspective. So the answer is yes. If you are able to, you are able to. Yes, by all means, do that. But I think sometimes it's not just about just a monetary. All right. Monetary is how far can you really help a person. So so there's no right to wrong. If you are able to, by all means, go ahead.
Okay, understood. All right, let's see what question we have. Okay, there's this question speak about what happened after MCO. So this Fong Hang Seng is asking what are the precautions you will suggest to the negotiators during viewing after MCO?
Okay, this is what I just shared. So I will do a summary. I think okay, after MCO activities will come back lah. But they will come back before MCO. Yes and a no. Okay, all right. Definitely, people who there's a small there's a pen up of demand there. Okay, but like what I say, when the market is going down, there's a lag time. There's a lag time between whether can the seller match up to the buyer's point, all right, or what the kind of price that the buyer wants. Meaning to say, this is my deduction. After MCO, yes, viewing will come back. You will be able to close the deal, all right. But closing the deal during this period may be more challenging if the sellers is not motivated to sell, or if you cannot make a difference to make the seller to be more motivated means your closing time, or rather the time for you to close will be longer. Okay. Now, very important is this: how much do we make will depends on what is your probability of closing deal. Okay. Probability of closing deal is you go for 10 appointment, you close one, or you go for 5 appointment, you close one, or you go for 3 appointment, you close 4. Is it possible? Yes, maybe a buyer bring buyer. Am I right? So, so while the key thing is this is the probability. So, so to summarize the question, activities will bounce back. Will it be even back to the usual? I doubt so, but it will take a longer time to close the deal. So you got to make a difference with the seller here, and you got to make a difference in how you're going to reach out to get the motivated buyer.
So it would be a very good time to strategize how to set appointments with the potential buyers once after MCO during this period of time.
Okay, I'll just imagine. Okay, this is me. I'm just imagine if I am still on the ground doing a lot of sales. Okay, this is my activities. Number one, I will immediately visit all my client who has property for me to sell. Okay, number one, show concern. Number two, understand what are they going through. Okay, because remember, stock is very important. While I do that, at the same time, I'm able to generate leads online. Or it could be offline, am I right? So you got to really strategize how do you carry out your business. Okay, so my strategy, if I'm doing it, I'll meet up with the owners, talk to the owners, understand them much better while I'm generating the leads, am I right? So that I can actually close the gap during viewing. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. We have come to the end of the session, and we have received so many informative and very and whatever we learn, we have to understand, to acknowledge and be relevant to our client. And hopefully with the advice from Mr. Aldrin can help you to learn to navigate in this situation. So lastly, we would like to just end and encourage all of the rent and real estate agents to subscribe or like the Facebook page in MIEA so that you can keep yourself informative. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Aldrin.
All right, thank you, everyone. Okay, bye-bye.